And welcome back to the First and Goal podcast. My name is Lewis, and next to me, as always, is my beautiful co-host Laraib. As we are super excited to hop into Week 17 of the NFL season. If this were 3 years ago, we would be talking about the final week of the regular season. But this is the penultimate week of the regular season, and ultimate is the right word to describe this season because it has been an ultimate experience, especially covering it with you, Laraib. So I'm excited to get into this week's quick refresher before we hop into these. I am 2 wins up on Laraib in our picks with 2 weeks remaining. That means he desperately needs to get a leg up on me. So he better not reveal his hand because I might play some hardball this week.
Well, I am your beautiful co-host, Lewis, but some of these picks are about to get ugly in these last 2 weeks, Lewis. But let's get it started with the New Orleans Saints at the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles -6.5, Lewis. And, they've locked up the they haven't locked up the number 1 seed. They've locked up a playoff berth, Lewis, but they're still fighting hard for that number 1 seed over there in the NFC. And they just need one more win. And now they're facing your Saints at home. What do you think the Saints can do to try and play a little spoiler in this one?
I think the Saints defense has been extremely physical the past few weeks, and stopping the run has been a huge part of our identity. And in this game, the last time we played the Eagles, it was Jalen Hurts' running threat that really killed the Saints defense. He was able just to get out of the pocket. We had slow edge rushers, we still do, and they just could not keep up with Jalen Hurts, who carved us up in that game in Philadelphia last season. So what changes this time? Well, Gardner Minshew's at quarterback. No Jalen Hurts for the second week in a row. Gardner Minshew played well against Dallas, but key turnovers lost in that game. And you know what, Laraib? I think the Saints are going to do a really good job of corralling this Eagles team. The secondary has been playing very well, even without Marshawn Lattimore for the majority of the season. And if they can just keep these guys like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith in front of them, they can have a lot of success. And as for the Saints offense, we saw, Eagles losing some pretty key guys. Jordan Davis was missing time, and you can run the ball on this Eagles team. It's going to take some patience. It's going to take some hard work, but you can. So I'm expecting a lot of Taysom in this game, maybe a big Kamara game because these Eagles linebackers are really not that great in coverage this season. So big Kamara game, big Taysom game. I think the Saints have a advantage in this ball game, Laraib.
That's a really interesting take, Lewis. I have to completely disagree with you.
Go ahead.
The Eagles do have the Saints pick this year. And so, of course, the Eagles, that's another factor playing to this one. But like I said, started off, they just need one win to get that top seed, Lewis. And this is a really easy game. The Saints this is going to be their back-to-back road game. Like you mentioned, they've had some struggles, missing guys throughout the year, like Marshawn Lattimore. Chris Olave's been in and out. Jarvis Landry's been in and out. Of course, Michael Thomas has been missing all year long. And so now, I will agree with you. They do have the recipe for success against this Eagles team, but is Dennis Allen going to put in Taysom Hill in those key moments like he hasn't done all year long? We've seen Taysom Hill be a threat on the ground, of course, against my Seahawks. We've seen him throw some great deep passes to open receivers and your boy Rashid Shaheed, but it's going to be on Dennis Allen and, Pete Carmichael. Hey, are we going to throw Taysom Hill out there or not as our gadget guy? And that's going to be the difference in this game. And I don't think they will, Lewis. I think the Eagles played really well on Thanksgiving on Christmas Eve against the Cowboys. They have an extra day of rest. And I think they can get it done against the Saints squad, who's been a little shorthanded all season long.
Yep. And that's why considering all of your points, I'm sure the GM is walking into the Eagles locker room saying, hey, we have their first round pick next year. So make sure you go out there because this guy's going to take one of your jobs. Let's go. And I'm sure they're really excited about that one. So just you're wrong in that point. Just you're wrong. And then we move on to all the other points you made. You're wrong too. The Saints are winning this game. They're just the better team. They've been the better team all season. And, sometimes you got to fight ignorance with ignorance. And that's what I'm doing here. I'm going Saints 24 to Eagles 20.
And I'll be picking the Eagles 27-21 as they secure the Saints first round pick, Lewis. Let's move on to another great game. We have the Arizona Cardinals going to Atlanta to play the Falcons. The Falcons -3.5 in this one, Lewis. And, I'm really feeling the other way. I like the Cardinals in this one, especially if Colt McCoy can come back from his concussion. He missed last week, but, this is just another week for him to get that concussion right. Now I'm facing the Falcons team who has nothing to play for, Lewis. They're out of the playoffs. Desmond Ridder has not looked good, and now you're facing a Cardinals team with J.J. Watt announcing his retirement after the season. He's going to be playing hard in his last 2 games. So I really like the Cardinals on the road, Lewis.
You make some very interesting points, and I will tell you the J.J. Watt factor is the thing that I agree with you. This team is now a huge reason to buy in. These are 2 teams that are both eliminated, but why not let J.J. Watt go out with some wins and, just a super impactful player of our lifetime, then the second best defensive player of my lifetime as a football fan, only behind the one and only Aaron Donald. So, I think they come out here, they fresh. Like you said, Colt McCoy is a good quarterback who has rapport with these receivers. So if he is playing, I like him a lot better than I do Desmond Ridder. And the Cardinals defense, they played pretty well against Tampa last week. So I think they can go on the road and beat the Falcons. But this is just one of those games where it's like neither of these teams realistically have anything to play for. So it's about young guys trying to prove themselves in the league. So you can see maybe why, the Falcons are favored in this one because you think of the Desmond Ridder, he's due. If he's that guy, he's got to prove it in a game like this, right? But I just don't think they will. You still have like elite receivers on the Cardinals: DeAndre Hopkins, Marquise Brown, playmakers James Conner on the ground. They just have more talent. That's why I'm going with the Cardinals on the road. I'm gonna hold off and see what your final score is.
Yeah, no, I definitely have to agree with you, especially if Colt McCoy is back in there. They just have playmakers across the board. It's really, really interesting. Vegas has this one, Atlanta 3.5, which is really, really, something shaky's going on. They might be hoping Trace McSorley plays in this one. And if he does, it's going to be, oh man, this is going to look like a horrible pick. But I'm still picking the Cardinals 24-21, Lewis.
I would like to pull the if X quarterback plays, I'm going with team Y, but I'm not doing that here. I agree with you, Laraib. I am also going with the Arizona Cardinals on the road. J.J. Watt masterclass. It's going to be Cardinals 23 to Falcons 16 in this ball game. J.J. Watt gets an offensive touchdown. That is my prediction in this ball game. But Laraib, let's move on to a NFC North rivalry. We have the 3-12 Chicago Bears traveling to Detroit to face the 7-8 Lions. Lions here by 6 on the road. This is a Lions team that has been so close to getting there in the postseason, but after suffering a heartbreaking loss on the road last week, it takes a really special team and a special coach to bounce back from a loss like that. So this is a desperate Lions team, and they can see the playoffs in front of them. They need to win this game. There's so many things that can happen for this Lions team to see if they can get in. So they need to win this game against the Bears, and I think they do. At home, this Lions team has been a completely different offense, a completely different team all season, and this Bears defense is straight up dreadful. They have been the worst defense in the NFL ever since trading guys like Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn earlier in the season. They have given up the most rushing yards per game, second most passing yards per game. This is an abysmal defense. They have some promising rookies, but against this Lions team that's going to be hungry at home where they play amazing offense, this is a game that I just think is a absolute lock. Lions need this win. They're going to get it, and it's going to set up an amazing game in Lambeau for Week 18 with the Lions.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. The Lions are the actual Lions when they're playing at Ford Field, but playing anywhere else are the puppy dogs. But now they're facing this Bears team. Horrible defense, like you mentioned. But I will say on the other side, the Lions gave up over 300 rushing yards to the Panthers last week. And now when you have the trio of Justin Fields, David Montgomery, and Khalil Herbert all back for this one, I'm feeling the Bears could be a little frisky, Lewis, but I still like the Lions. They've been hungry all season long. I think hopefully the Bears can lose by 7 or less. Just throwing that out there, Lions. You can let them score a little bit, right? So I will be picking the Lions 31-24 as they keep their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a much bigger margin than that. Lions are going to absolutely dog walk this Bears team. I just think the offensive mismatch is so enormous that I'm going Lions 31 to Bears 17. And this Bears passing offense is so abysmal that they can just really never climb back into this one, especially in Detroit. So that is my final score. Let's move on to our. Look a little scared over there, Laraib. Is something going on? Let's move on to our next game, though. We have the Denver Broncos traveling to Kansas City. Kansas City is favored by 12.5 points at home. Chiefs win. They move on. Any questions?
No, just I completely agree. The Broncos defense, they've been outstanding unit all season long, but it looked like on that Christmas Day game, they just finally broke down after all those Russell Wilson turnovers after all the bad coaching. The cookie crumbles at some point for them. And it was last week. And now you're facing Kansas City, who still has a shot at the number 1 seed in the AFC Lewis. It's not like they're going to be taking their foot off the gas pedal on this one. So I like the Chiefs big, 27-13.
Yeah, I agree. This game, it seems like the Broncos have already quit in the season. They fired Nathaniel Hackett. It seems like they're shutting Russell Wilson down for the rest of the season. This is just a abysmal team with nothing to play for. Awful season. Chiefs 31 to Broncos 10, and it's never really a debate. If the Broncos win this game, just say I said it here first, but I'm not. So let's move on to our next game. A really big game for the playoff implications in the AFC. We have the Miami Dolphins traveling to the Patriots, who are 3-point favorites at home. Big thing in this game is both these teams control their destiny, Laraib. If both these teams win out, they're in. But if they don't, they need a lot of things to go on. So this is a huge game for both these clubs. And my biggest question for you, Laraib, is with no Tua Tagovailoa out, can Teddy Bridgewater lead this Dolphins team to a win on the road against the New England Patriots?
No, Lewis, I don't think they can. This is going to be Teddy's first time facing Bill Belichick, and we know how he just dominates quarterbacks when it's their first time facing him. And we said this Dolphins team, Tua was out a couple of weeks this season, and they lost all of those games. We said, if they get the ball out quickly to their guys, they might have a shot, right? But then they didn't do any of that. They still try to run their offense like Tua is back there at quarterback when he's not. And this one, Teddy B, he's a serviceable quarterback, but their defense has not been good all season long, Lewis. And now you're facing a Patriots team who still has a shot with Bill Belichick at quarterback. They lost awfully last week to the Bengals, and then, of course, the week before they give up that stupid touchdown to the Raiders. But in this one, like you mentioned, they control their own destiny. Now you're facing a Dolphins team without their starting quarterback. I think that Bill Belichick can get it done at home.
It's so funny to me that we consider Tua as this average to below average quarterback at times. And then the moment he's not playing a game, it's, man, they're just done. Like there's no shot in this ball game. And I just think it's funny because Vegas obviously knows his value too, because going into this game, Miami was a 2-point favorite. And then now New England is a 3-point favorite. That is a 5-point spread. And you know what that tells me, Laraib? That's a little too much value because I am not a sheep like Vegas. I think the Dolphins will be fine with Teddy Bridgewater. He doesn't make mistakes. He's accurate. And you just get the ball to your studs. And that's what he's going to do. So this might shock you, Laraib, but I like the Miami Dolphins against the Patriots. This Patriots team has been so underwhelming, so hard to watch. And honestly, this is a pick for enjoyment because I don't want to see this Patriots team in the playoffs. And I think the Patriots have a legitimate chance to go 2-0 going forth. And yeah, I know this is about the game. This is about the picks, trying to get an edge on your opponent. But I genuinely do think the Dolphins are a bit overvalued, or the Patriots are a bit overvalued here against the Dolphins. Teddy Bridgewater, he's played in cold environments. He's won huge road games in his career. I remember when he was on the New Orleans Saints and he went into Seattle and won a road game in Seattle and dominated the Seahawks. I mean, he absolutely dog-walked them. They had no shot against the Saints. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater owns the Seahawks. What are we talking about again? Oh, that's right. So I think he's going to go into New England. And I'm not going to say he's going to have a terrific game but he's not going to make mistakes. He's going to keep the ball down. And they started kind of getting a running game going in that game against Buffalo. And I think they might be able to do it here as they just stick to it. I just don't trust this Patriots offense. This Dolphins defense, like to your point, they have to show me something. But this is one of my more gut feelings of the week, and I'm going with it. So give me the Miami Dolphins 27-23. Teddy B, I'm with you.
Well, you give a great point. And Teddy Bridgewater, he's played in all these games. He's beaten the Seahawks in Seattle. He's,
he did.
But he has never played Bill Belichick. And that's a fact, Jack. He's never been over there in New England, never played Bill Belichick before. It's gonna be the first time facing that defense.
Bill Belichick's never played him.
He's gonna be seeing ghosts out there, Lewis. I mean, it's gonna be Sam Darnold all over again. Just be seeing ghosts in New England. Pac-Man and all those other guys gonna be out there on the sidelines looking at him like, oh man, he's seeing ghosts out there. And so I like the Patriots at home. Ramondre Stevenson and all those other guys have a bounce back in this one, and the Patriots win 24-21. But Lewis, let's move on to another game. We have the Indianapolis Colts going to New York to play the Giants. The Giants are favored by 6 at home. And, I think it should be even a little bit bigger, Lewis. We saw Nick Foles play on Monday Night Football. He had 3 really bad interceptions, and they were just getting shut down by the Chargers defense. And now you're facing the Giants team, who has a better defense, in my opinion, than the Chargers. And now you're facing Saquon Barkley in December in New York. I think this is just a recipe for disaster for the Colts.
Yep, Giants win, Colts suck. Give me the Giants 30 to Colts 16.
30. Well, interesting. I'm going to go a little bit lower scoring for the Giants. Just because their lack of playmakers, and this Colts defense is nothing to sneeze at, Lewis. They held Herbert in check for a little while in that game, so I like the Giants 17-9, Lewis.
Let me rephrase that: Giants 20-6. I'll just decrease it by 10 on both sides. Sorry for the abbreviated explanation, Colts fans, but I think by next week, me or Laraib will be your starting quarterback the way this season is going. So let's hope that the lottery, or no, it's not the NBA. Let's hope that Bryce Young falls to you at whatever your draft slot is. But let's move on, Laraib, to a surprisingly huge matchup in the NFC South. We have the Carolina Panthers traveling to Tampa to face the Buccaneers. Panthers have been on a roll recently, winning 5 out of their last 8 to be in this spot. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers barely knocking off the woeful Trace McSorley-led Cardinals on Sunday Night Football. This is the game that decides the division, basically. If the Panthers win out, they're in. If the Bucs lose out, if the Bucs win this game, they clinch. All they need to do is win this game. The Panthers still need to win their next 2 games to get in, or have Tampa lose. But then if the Carolina Panthers lose, then the Saints get in. But who cares about the Saints right now? See, this is what you do to me, Laraib. You made me think about all these scenarios for the Saints. Let me ask you, Laraib, is there a chance the Panthers pull the rug from underneath the Buccaneers and get the division?
Yes, Lewis. And the magic number here in this game, Lewis, is the number 20.
20, I'll remember that.
The Bucs are 0-7 when their opponents score 20 points this year. And so that's all it takes, Lewis, just 3 measly touchdowns and 2 or 3 extra points.
No, three touchdowns will do it, yeah.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns and make all those kicks, Eddie Pinheiro. And that's all it takes.
You could even miss 1 extra point. You'll still get to 20.
Right, but that's all it takes for this Bucs team to go down. But this is a big game for Tom Brady, and we've seen him pull it out of his ass all season long against your Saints, against those Cardinals, Lewis, and now at home against the Panthers team who already embarrassed them one time this season. I just can't bet against Tampa Tom Brady.
You know what? I'll tell you this. According to your stat, and ever since Sam Darnold is elevated to the Panthers starting quarterback, they have scored 20 in every single game except for the Steelers game, in which they scored 16 with a lot of missed opportunities against a really good Steelers defense. So maybe you might be onto something here, Laraib. And you know what? You are. Because this Bucs team, they'll probably win this game. I'll concede that. They're probably going to win this game. They're probably going to lock up the division. It's Tom Brady. I should know this as a football fan, that he will never die. Legends will never die. He's certainly a legend. But this Panthers
What happened
team,
to Bill Russell?
What is wrong with you? And that's the thing. His legend will never die. That was rude, Laraib. Golly. For all the people who aren't listening, Twitter, bookmark that one. Anyway, let's move on. I'm going to ask you, Laraib, which team is a better team, the Panthers or the Buccaneers? Just straight up.
I mean, I have to pick the Bucs, Lewis. They've been playing terrible all season long, but they have the playmakers everywhere, Lewis. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are Pro Bowl, All-Pro receivers. Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback to ever live. And it's not their fault. I mean, you asked me who's the better squad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair. And thanks to your convincing, I am going with the Buccaneers. I was going to go with the Panthers, but I'm thinking about it in my mind. There's no scenario in which the NFL doesn't completely rig it to get Brady in these dang playoffs. So this is the game. I think they're going to win. So give me the Carolina Panther, or no, excuse me. I was
Oh,
going back
oh,
to my
oh.
previous notes. Give me the Bucks in this one. Let's make it ugly. We're gonna go 17-16, game-winning field goal from Ryan Suckup, the best Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL.
The second best. And I'm going to pick the Bucks 20-17. Eddie Pinheiro misses the game tying field goal, and the Bucks don't let up 20 points and win. But Lewis, let's move on to another game that has major playoff implications. We have the Cleveland Browns going to Washington to play the Commanders. Commanders -2. And we've been saying all season long, Lewis, that Chase Young will be back for this game. Chase Young will be back for that game. But I think, Lewis, is he back for this game?
I don't know. I'm not going to say anything.
But the bigger thing is your boy Carson Wentz, Lewis, is in at quarterback, and we will see if he will tank another team from getting into the playoffs like he did last year with the Colts. But at home, facing this Cleveland Browns offense, which has looked horrible with Deshaun Watson. You know, Nick Chubb has not been his former self ever since Deshaun Watson came in at the head quarterback position. And now you're facing a hungry Commanders team, which came off a bad beat last week. And now they're at home with Chase Young back. I think they can get it done in a tight one against a Browns team, which has been lackluster all year long.
What are we doing, Laraib? The big thing is Carson Wentz is back at starting quarterback, facing the Browns, who honestly have been really disappointing with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. He has been statistically the worst starting quarterback since he has come back in week 11. And this is a good Commanders pass rush, and maybe they get Chase Young back. Who the hell knows? But they get Carson Wentz back, and he transforms this offense. They become a big play, high-flying offense. And if they can establish the run with this group as well, they're going to dominate this Browns team, which is very dominable. And they're going to do that and basically shoehorn themselves into a playoff spot. All they got to do is beat the Cowboys next week if they win this game. I mean, Carson Wentz is him. And Carson Wentz will pull off this one. Give me Commanders 38 to Cleveland 20.
Oh, my God. 38 points from Carson Wentz. I don't think that's fathomable, Lewis.
Of course.
I think it's a little bit of a closer game. I think Deshaun Watson can massage out some of those kinks. Maybe this week he can get it done. So I like Commanders 23-21 in a tight one at home.
No.
Joey Sly late field goal puts them up by 2. But Lewis, let's move on to another game which has little to no playoff implications.
Literally none.
The Jacksonville Jaguars going to Houston to play my Texans, only 10 minutes from my house, less than 10 minutes from my house. Now, this Jaguars team, Lewis, they were playing really well to start the season. They started playing really bad, and now they're back up again. And Trevor Lawrence, like you mentioned on the Tuesday pod, is potentially a top 10 quarterback in the NFL right now. But now you're facing a Texans team, which had a great win the last week against another divisional opponent in the Titans. And now you see the Jaguars, they might be looking a week ahead, Lewis, and this Texans team has been frisky. And so I like this Texans team, which has already beaten the Jaguars once this season, to beat them again at home.
Laura, you're going to hate me, but I completely agree with you because, well, if the Texans or if the Jaguars lose and the Titans win, you know what happens? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There is no consequence to either the Titans or the Jaguars this week that won't affect whatever happens in week 18 when they face off. That is the only thing that will affect who wins this division. So I would bench Trevor Lawrence this week. I would bench, Zay Jones. I would bench some of my defensive guys. I'm not playing this week if I'm the freaking Jaguars. Because why?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
If you were currently in the Fantasy Football Championship, would you want them to bench Zay Jones and Trevor Lawrence?
Okay. No, but yeah, you knew the answer to that one. But I don't care because this is the Jaguars season. Like they need to beat the Titans in week 18. Whatever happens before that is whatever. If they get a bonus for winning 9 games on the season and going over 500, if Doug Peterson gets a nice little pretty penny, he might play Trevor Lawrence for 3 quarters. Obviously, the Jaguars are a better team than Texans, but I agree with you, Laraib. The Texans win this game. They're only playing for pride at this point, and this is a capable football team, as we've talked about. So I like the Texans, and if I was a betting man, I love this spread for the Texans. That's a good number for them. So I will be picking the Texans at home Laraib, you are going to be at this game, right? No,
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 I'm
we're
gonna
going
be
to
at your house, and we're gonna be sweating out
sweating
some
some
bets at the
picks,
Butler house.
picks. Yeah,
Oh
not
yeah,
bets.
some
We don't
picks.
bet.
It's a crucial week for me on the picks this week. But yeah, I have to agree with you. We'll pick the Texans, both of us in this one. Unfortunately, I thought I was gonna slip you up with this one, give myself a little lead, but I guess not. I like the Texans at home, 24-23, and an upset, Lewis.
And I got the Texans 23-21 in an upset. So let's move on now to a game that has little playoff implication. We have the San Francisco 49ers traveling to the Las Vegas Raiders to play in Las Vegas. San Francisco is favored by 10 on the road. The big thing in this game is the Raiders have shut down Derek Carr for the rest of the season. Although the Raiders are not technically mathematically eliminated, they said, we don't care. We want to see what Stidham has. And honestly, I don't blame them. This is a good franchise decision. And hey, Derek Carr, we know what Derek Carr is. We've had him in our building for the last 7 or so years. We know what he represents. Let's see what the young guy has. And although I don't think Jarrett Stidham has anything, this might be a rehearsal for what can our offense look like with this type of quarterback or this type of quarterback, because odds are Derek Carr will not be on this team next season, Rob. So I think this is a game where they just want to see what they have. But unfortunately, they're facing the buzzsaw that is the San Francisco 49ers, who still have something to play for with a potential, not likely, 1 seed in the mix. Actually, no, that is impossible. But they can still get the 2 seed if the Vikings slip up. And you would just always like to get that higher seed in any scenario, just to get that extra home game if necessary. So Niners going to win this one. They're going to win it convincingly. Give me the Niners 31 to 27. Screw it. Jared Stidham covers the spread.
Yeah, and I mean, there's not much to say after everything you said. Basically, they stick and go for the number 2
Thank
seed.
you.
Derek Carr is out. I mean, Brock Purdy just continues to impress me week after week, and the 49ers dominate on the road, even without Deebo Samuel. So I like the 49ers 27-13 on the road, Lewis. But let's move on to a game that has major playoff implications.
Major.
The New York Football Jets going to Seattle to play my Seattle Seahawks. Both the teams at 7-8. The Jets favored on the road -1.5 with Mike White going back in, Lewis. But what Vegas did not account for was Geno Smith revenge game. This year, Lewis, he's matched up against the Chargers and the Giants, 2 former teams he was on, and he dominated those 2 teams on the road and at home. And now you have the Jets coming in, the team that drafted him, the team that gave up on him, and he is not going to take this game lightly, especially when they still have a shot for the playoffs, Lewis. And I will say, AFC teams are 4-16 against the Seahawks in Seattle. And so I really like the Seahawks chances in this one.
And I love the Seahawks chances in this one, Laraib. You bring up the good point. And hey, Geno Smith might be the future quarterback for the New York Jets, given their situation and his, questionable future in Seattle in this upcoming offseason. I'm sure a lot of you guys would want to keep him as a bridge quarterback, but that's always super lame anyway. But yeah, I think this is a game for the Seahawks where the 12th man is loud, they're proud, and this is a fun team. It's been a fun team all year. It's going to be a playoff environment. And as much as I like Mike White, and I think he makes his team, the Jets team, better, I think this is a little Tariq Woolen standout game because Sauce Gardner, he's a lock for D-Roy. Everyone's been singing his praises. He got the more votes in the Pro Bowl vote.
No, I have something to say about that, Lewis.
Go ahead.
He was parading all over Twitter, calling out Jets fans left and right. Oh, Jets fans, is this how you guys are going to treat me? You're going to let some other guy get more votes than me for cornerback for Pro Bowl? And he was crying all over Twitter, and class act Tariq Woolen didn't say a word. He was just thanking all the fans. Hey, thank you guys for voting me in. I can't be more humble about it. And he is going to be the one who shows out in this one, picking off Mike White 2 times and also getting a fumble recovery in this one as the Seahawks keep their playoff hopes alive. Seahawks win 24-23.
You know what? It's going to be an explosive win, Laraib. Seahawks 31 to Jets 17. Ended off with a Woolen pick 6. in the end zone. He's standing like that. And in the background, you see Sauce Gardner with his head down. That's what I want to see this freaking Sunday. So I like the Seahawks. I probably should have picked the Jets, though, for the sake of the picks. But let's move on now to our next game of the week, which has huge playoff implications. We have the Minnesota Vikings going to Lambeau to face the Packers in Green Bay. The red-hot Green Bay Packers were favored by 3.5 in this game. I'll start on this one. This is in Lambeau. Huge spot. Packers need this win. And what do the Vikings need? Like you told me, I don't know, a few weeks ago when I picked them against the Lions. What do they really need here? Why don't they just conserve it for the next week? I mean, this is a game against a hungry Packers team. Who cares? Who cares? Just have fun out there. The only thing they're playing for is for the Justin Jefferson single-season receiving record.
And
Go
the number
ahead.
2
Go.
seed.
Yeah, but, it's just the 2 seed. So Packers are playing for their lives. Aaron Rodgers on a mission. I think he plays out of his mind this game after being embarrassed week 1. They've had all this time to prepare. I don't think they get swept by the Vikings. I think they win this game, and they win it by an emphatic 3 points. I like the Packers.
Well, Lewis, we've talked about the Vikings all season long and all their 1 wins, right? They've had 11 games where they've won by, 1 score.
Correct.
But they have 12 wins on the season. That means 1 game they won by double-digit points, and that was against the Green Bay Packers opening week, where Dalvin Cook had 90 rushing yards, and now he's facing this Packers team, which gives up 140 rushing yards on average this season. And so I like the Vikings on the road. I think, even if it's cold environment over there in Lambeau, I think that our boy Dalvin Cook can get it done on the ground. And like you mentioned, Justin Jefferson going for that receiving record and also that reception record. And so we'll see, he's not going to be, lollygagging out there. He's going to be trying to get his. And so I like the Vikings on the road, a team that's been severely disrespected, Lewis, at 12-3, soon to be 13-3 after beating your Packers. And so I like the Vikings 27-26 on the road.
And I love the Green Bay Packers by an emphatic 3 points, 26-23. They get it done. And honestly, we're both happy at the end of the day, if you ask me. But yeah, I think that's a big spot for the Packers. Vikings, they still have something to play for. Come on now. Back in August when they won by double digits, what we were doing in late August? So I guess not much has changed. But let's move on to our final 3:00 game. We have the Battle of Los Angeles, the Rams versus the Chargers. Chargers favored by 6.5. Basically neutral site. I think this is a game that really neither team cares about. The Rams playing for pride, Chargers playing just for momentum into the playoffs. I'm just going to go with the better team, the team that's proven it. Hopefully, I don't think Joe Bosa is playing in this game, but he should be on the ticker soon, on the questionable ticker, that is. So I just think Chargers win this game. I really don't have a great read on this. If I was a betting man, which some people might say I am, that Rams spread looks kind of juicy. Maybe bet that up to 13 and just see what you got. Ooh. All right, never mind. I do like the Rams in this, or I like the Chargers in this game. Give me Chargers 26-20.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you. Justin Herbert is finally in the playoffs, Lewis, and they still are going for that, 6th seed. And so this is, as much as the Rams might try to pack it in, they also have a pick given up to the Detroit Lions, so they don't want to lose any more games if they don't have to. So they'll be going in this one. But I think Justin Herbert, the offense has slowed down a little bit, Lewis. Against the Titans, they only put up 17 points, and the Colts kind of had them in check for most of that game. If it wasn't for Nick Foles out there, it could have been a different story on Monday night. Well, like you said, Chargers, both these teams at home in this one, but I think the Chargers just continue to impress me with the defensive side of the ball, and Justin Herbert is Justin Herbert. And so I'll take the Chargers at home, 27-21.
Great pick, Laraib. But let's move on now to the Sunday night football game, a game in which is largely decided by the fate of one man, and that one man is Lamar Jackson, as the Pittsburgh Steelers are traveling to Baltimore to face the Ravens. The nearest update on Lamar is he has not practiced today, so his status still remains questionable for Sunday night. And I am invoking the strategy, Laraib, and feel free if you'd like to as well. If Lamar Jackson plays, the Ravens win. If they don't, the Steelers win. You know what? No. Regardless, the Steelers win this ball game on the road.
Now that's
I
what I
don't
like.
care.
Now
I
that's what
don't
I
care.
like.
The Steelers, in my opinion, they need this game. They're still in it. And this is bigger than a playoff spot. This is bigger than potential money in the playoffs, helping your families. This is about Mike Tomlin never finishing below 500. And all the players understand this. They're living for this. And they need this. Give this to them. And they will. They will deliver. TJ Watt masterclass. He just heard his brother's retiring. He's going to be on a different level. He has to show the world that the Watt family is still alive and healthy. I don't know what Derek Watt's doing nowadays, but not this is TJ's moment to shine. And it doesn't matter who it is for the Ravens. They've been missing guys in offense all year. They haven't been able to do anything consistently. Their defense is really good. I'll give you that. But Kenny Pickett is playing in this ball game. They're not going to knock him out like they did in the last game. So he'll have revenge on his mind. George Pickens is going to have a crazy game in Baltimore. He feels like a Baltimore guy, and they win this ball game.
And I'm going the other way, Lewis. This is the second time these teams have matched up this season. And you did this whole shtick last time about the Steelers. Oh, man, they're at home. Blah, blah, blah. Now you're in the Ravens' den now in Baltimore. I like this Ravens team, even if Lamar Huntley is playing or Lamar Jackson. I like both of those guys in at quarterback. I will agree this is going to be a defensive battle. Kicker, whichever kicker comes out on top is going to be the big reason in this one. And I like Justin Tucker more than I like Chris Boswell. And so give me the Ravens 17-16 as Lamar proves he earns that bag.
And I have the Steelers 22-16. Chris Boswell just basically answers the game, and Justin Tucker misses a kick. That's my bold prediction for this ball game. But let's move on, Laraib, now to some might say the best game of this dreadful week. We have the Buffalo Bills traveling to Cincinnati on Monday Night Football. Huge game for the playoffs. Both these teams have clinched already, but this could be the difference between the 1 seed, the 2 seed, and the 3 seed right here. Chiefs fans are obviously rooting for the Bills, who are favored by a 1 on the road, or they're rooting for the Bengals, who are favored by a 1 on the road, Laraib. What is your take on this clash of the Titans?
Well, Lewis, talk about two white-hot teams with the Bills on a 6-game win streak and the Bengals on a 7-game win streak have not lost since October, which is just ridiculous, Lewis. And I could see this game going in both directions. You could see a defensive battle where both the quarterbacks are, getting pressure and struggling a little bit. And or you could see just an all-out shootout with these two massive cannon arms just lobbing balls deep to their star wide receivers. But I like the Bengals in this one, Lewis. Big thing in this one, star right tackle La'el Collins is done for the rest of the season. And so we'll see how that impacts this Bengals offensive line and just their offensive unit in total. I know this Bengals team is 0-3 when Burrow gets sacked 5 times or more in a game. And that's what's going to be the key. How well that offensive line hold up in this one against that Bills pass rush. And I think they do a superb performance in this one. And the Bengals win from Joey Burrow and Jamar Chase masterclass as we see this Bills team, have a glaring bad offensive performance with, only Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs really contributing.
I disagree with you, Laraib. I think the Bills defense has been playing very good football this season. And I heard from a little birdie that the Bengals will be wearing their all whites with their new white helmets in this ball game, but they are not. And because of my disappointment, I'm going with the Bills. But it's not just that. La'el Collins, the star right tackle, who's been playing very good football all season, is out for the rest of the season. And against this Bills pass rush, they changed. They use La'el Collins in such a unique way where they, put him in really wide splits because he was such an athletic tackle. He could manage that inside gap. He could get inside faster, but by spreading out the wide tech, the defensive end, that guy is obviously he's further away from the quarterback. It's going to take him longer to get there, and he's athletic enough to bridge that gap. But now you bring in I think it's open dingy. I don't know, some bum, just nowhere near Lyle Collins. He's gonna have a very tough time with these pass rushers for the Bills, even despite having no Von Miller. And I think this is a huge, difference maker in this ball game. Josh Allen, there's no Trey Hendrickson in this game, no Chidobe Awuzie for the Bengals, two huge playmakers. I think they get it done. Stephon Diggs going to have a field day. And I think this is going to be a very, very exciting game. Honestly, it's going to come down to whoever has the ball last. And I think, on the road, the Bills will get it done and advance to 13-3 with the 1 seed almost in lock. So I do like the Bills in this ball game, Rob.
And I'm going to lean the other way. I think Lou Anarumo might be able to cover up some of those blemishes from the missing players on defense for the Bengals. And I think Joe Burrow will have the ball last in his hands, and Eddie McPherson, Shooter McPherson, kicks the game-winning field goal. And the Bengals win on Monday Night Football 27-24.
And I have your Buffalo Bills winning a little bit lower scoring, 24-23. Huge ball game, tons of fun. We will be watching, and that will be it for this episode. But let's move on to our locks, upsets, and best bets of the week, Laraib. Why don't you go ahead and start us off with your lock of the week?
My lock of the week will be the Philadelphia Eagles at home facing a Saints squad who's been up and down all season long. I think they just need one more win to secure the number 1 spot. And I think they get it done at home against your Saints.
I like it. I actually really need that to happen despite my pick. My lock is going to be the Detroit Lions at home. They need this game to keep their playoff hopes alive. This Bears team has been awful all year. I think the Lions can get it done comfortably. Their offense will be put on a fireworks show in that dome in Detroit. So I do like the Lions in this ball game, Laraib.
All right, good pick. And for my upset, I like the Minnesota Vikings on the road against the Packers. They've already beaten this year. I think, 3.5 line is just absurd to me. Vegas knows something we don't for sure in this one. But Vikings, try to pull off the upset, but at least, please, dear God, just lose by 3 if you need to lose.
My upset is the New Orleans Saints going into Philadelphia. They're just a better team overall. They've been the better team all season. I am not going to elaborate on either of these points. The Saints are my upset.
All right, Lewis. And for my best bet, it's going to be my Houston Texans at +4.5 at home. Like we said, Jaguars, it means nothing for them. On the road, like you said, they might even potentially rest some starters in this one. And a Texans team who just beat the Titans last week and was what might have been, a huge game for them. So I like the Texans at home as my +4.5 as my best bet.
My best bet of the week. I love this one. I am taking the Rams at +6.5, technically on the road, but it's really in Los Angeles. So everything it wants here. It's a home underdog by 6.5 points. Chargers really have not a lot to play for. Their playoff spot is indeed locked. And you could argue, based off the seedings, you might want to play this team or this team. Doesn't matter. It's unlikely you get the 5th seed and face the winner of the aberrant AFC South. But I love the Rams in this spot. I think it's a lot of value. And I might put my bottom dollar on it. So, Rob, that'll do it for this week's episode. As always, our socials are in our links below if you want to hit us up. But besides that, anything else you got for us?
I just want to wish everybody a happy new year. The next time we will see you guys next year.
We're not going to see y'all for a year.
Yeah. But this has been the First and Goal podcast signing off.
Peace.